feed your passion, which is going to fuel your desire. And it seems so easy of a statement, but it's so complex. And the easiest way to do that, and if I can encourage anybody, is if you have an interest in something and you want to thrive in it, you want to get better and better and better, be creative. Be creative to find that fuel, in whatever you do. If you're an artist, maybe you want to draw and doodle. If you're a soccer player, go kick the ball, teach yourself new games and fun, whatever it may be. I'm not a gamer, so I can't give really tips on that.
Welcome to the How Soccer Explains Leadership podcast, where we explore leadership principles through the lens of the beautiful game.
Welcome back to How Soccer Explains Leadership. Thanks again for being a part of the conversation. I'm Phil Dark, your host. With me, my brother, Paul Jobson. Paul, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Phil, man. It's been a great time here, but I'm looking forward to our interview today, and looking forward to jumping right in and talking with Paul. So why don't you get us introed here with him?
Yeah, we got Paul Caligiuri, and man, I'm excited for this conversation. We have a funny way that we connected about a year ago, and it was pretty cool to see. Sometimes God works in mysterious ways, and I think this was one of them. We get to now have a great conversation about Paul's story. Paul's got a great story. We're going to let him share a bit about that. And Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and we do have a very interesting way that we connected, and sometimes God's plan is definitely mysterious, as you mentioned, and who would ever thought that I'd be connected with you and on this podcast today with you related to soccer and leadership. This is wonderful, and pleasure to meet you, Paul, as well.
Yep, you as well.
Yeah, so the short of it, I was at a Sac Republic game last year, and I get this phone call, and unknown number, answer it, and it's hey, this is Paul Caligiuri, and I'm like, why are you calling me? And it was the weirdest thing. It was like at a Sac Republic game to boot, right? And he says, yeah, I found your grandpa's ID I just went to an estate sale and found your grandpa's ID from Merchant Marines. It's craziest that it wasn't that simple. I shortened the conversation, but man, that was so cool. And then we got a great conversation after that, and it was my dad's estate sale. It wasn't just some random one. It was my dad's. We were really selling off the house, and it was pretty amazing. So I'm grateful that we were able to connect, and it's a lot funnier little tidbits in there. But Paul, can you just briefly share your story and kind of your journey in the world of soccer, including how you developed your passion for soccer and coaching and leadership, and how you ended up doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, I will. But I want to comment first. It wasn't that easy. That unknown phone call, I don't think you picked up right away.
Yeah,
I think I had to call a second time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then I was persistent, and
Yes.
it wasn't that easy to find somebody that related to your grandfather. And when I did, I was so thrilled because this was not just an ID card. This was something super special from the Merchant Marines. And I don't know, how far back did that date? Like the 40s?
It was 1942. 1942.
Wow. And I just felt like, how did I buy a box of something and this end up in it? And I felt compelled to reach out. And, I got tears in my eyes when I found you, and you were so grateful for receiving that. But who would ever thought you're in the soccer world as well?
I know, it was so cool.
Yeah, so
and
cool.
Lots of common for, got played
crazy.
with your buddy Joe Max at Mission High School. And you even told me, and you can share it, but I wasn't your first call. Let's put it that way. You were on a hunt. You were a detective trying to find, because my grandpa's name was Green. It wasn't wasn't the name Dark. So
I gave up like 3 times, and then I opened up the laptop saying I'm not going to give up. And it lasted hours and hours. And I think another day into it, I said, okay, I got to do this. Something's telling me that you have to reach out and find who is this person. It was hard enough to find out who he was. And it's not like you go on this registry, and if you do find some type of registry, there's tens of thousands of fallen soldiers or past servicemen. And I didn't even know what the Merchant Marines was to begin with, but this thing was very unique. It was like
really cool.
3-page fold-out thing, and it opened up to a bigger certificate. And I'm so glad and blessed that I found you, and you got it. And I could tell by the joy in your voice that, yeah, my family wants us, of course. And I tell that story even today, but
I love it. Super grateful.
And then you say, hey, I got this podcast. I'm a soccer guy. I go, what? And of course you say you're a Christian. I go, wait, I am too. And
yeah,
when you start to think how God works in mysterious ways, I mean, definitely there's a plan, and I'm thrilled to be here. Pleasure to meet Paul and spend time. But yeah, getting into my career, I guess you want to know like how I got involved, or
well, just how you developed your passion for soccer. We always love to get kind of the backstory of our guests and just to hear like how you developed your passion for the game. And then we don't need to go into the details and the nitty gritty of all the different games and everything, but just how you develop your passion for the game and leadership and soccer and coaching and all that.
It's like a lot of young players, probably most that dream of becoming a pro or playing. I didn't necessarily grow up with a family that was a soccer background in soccer. I actually joined soccer when I was 7 years old because a neighborhood friend came running back to the neighborhood telling my brother and I how he signed up for soccer. The word soccer, that was the first introduction. Jamie Morrison, if he's out there. And he kept telling us about, I'm joining soccer. I'm joining soccer. That night at dinner, my brother and I were tag teaming my dad, saying, hey, Dad, we want to join soccer. We want to join soccer. We want to join soccer. And we left the dinner table. Basically, he'll think about it. And the very next day, after his work, we went down to the local grocery store. And outside the grocery store, they had the sign-up table. And we signed up. And my brother, who's older than me, we were always super competitive, racing to the bus stop or racing here, always challenging and stuff, whatever we do. Day one of soccer practice, because this was an age bracket where you could play 7 and 8-year-olds together. So my brother and I could be on the same team. And, the coach said, hey, make a one line here and make a line. So because my brother and I, every day we raced to the bus stop, we naturally raced to the front of the line. I raced as fast as I could to get the front line, and I was the first player in front of the line. And I just thought to myself, like, my brother can't kick me out of the front spot. He can't say he beat me because there's coaches and adults right there monitoring the situation. And Coach Len Myers was my coach. And the name of the team was the Mustangs. And it was AYSO, American Youth Soccer Organization. And he asked me, he went about 10, 15 yards away, and he goes, okay, first player on the line, dribble to me and dribble back. And I stood there and was so embarrassed because I didn't know what he meant. I literally didn't know what he meant by dribbling. All I could identify was with basketball, how you dribble basketball with the hands. And he quickly demonstrated. Once he demonstrated, I just felt like soccer was my thing right from the minute one. Once I took that first dribble, first touches with the ball, and I was able to hone in on my skills, get better, kicking the ball at home and with my brother and playing out front in the backyard. I took it even to school. I went to a Catholic school, and we'd play with a water polo ball on the basketball courts because we didn't really, no one ever really played soccer, and we just figured out ways to continue playing. And I think that's really what set me apart, was the fact that I always played with the ball outside, not just at organized soccer practices. And I took it to the schools and was creative of what type of games you could play. Sometimes you had later in life, it became like the fourth graders against the fifth graders, and you used the whole football field. Or sometimes it was just one-on-ones or two-on-twos in the front yard, backyard, just kicking a ball against the curb or against the garage door, whatever it may be. It was those type of activities that allowed me to have joy and literally to feed my passion for the game. And then, of course, get better and better in my skills that take on to higher levels down the road.
Yeah, I love when you're talking about developing the passion for the game. And, obviously for those who, unless your head's in the sand, you obviously played for the national team and going up, but I love that you didn't even mention that part of it, right? It goes back to the passion of the game developing with your brother, kicking a ball around. And I think a lot of the people listening, you're a little bit older than me, and we've established Paul's way younger than all of us, but he's not that much younger. Um but it's crazy when you look at soccer today compared to what it was, right? How much it's grown in all these years. And it was a little bit bigger, it was a little bit more known. We kind of knew, but people weren't playing. Like our parents didn't play the game. My dad had to learn the game to be able to coach me, right? Paul, same thing. And presumably your dad was like, why would you want to play soccer? Like
Yep.
that
So
that's the thing. It was like football or baseball or basketball or something like that. And so, as you develop your love, as you get better, what was the path to the national team, and how did how'd you get there?
well, I do identify with you, Phil and Paul, that my dad did learn the game along the time period that I was learning the game. And there's a time and point where you think you outgrow your parents' knowledge because he's now your coach and say, Dad, I know more than you. And, hey, I'm going to keep going and you're limiting your coaching abilities. But they're our biggest fans and our biggest supporters. And, I did start the conversation about my passion for the game, of how I got the passion for the game, because ultimately I am playing in a World Cup and I do have butterflies in the locker room. Um, you have this sense of being nervous, or what's it going to be like playing in a World Cup in the United States against Brazil with 80,000 fans. And it just creeps up onto you. You don't know when it's going to happen. It happens. You have to know how to control it. And how it relates to my childhood, I brought it back to my childhood. I literally went into the shower area. Now I'm fully clothed, I have my gear on, ready to go out and play the game. But I went into the quiet spot, which was the shower, and I just thought to myself, like, why are you here? Why do you want to play this game? And what brought you here? And I just thought, like, it's your passion. You loved it as a kid and you love it today. And it calmed me. It literally calmed me. So your passion never ends, for the game. Today I'm a coach, I'm a fan. Um, I support the game and I still have that passion, but I just don't get nervous anymore, right? Because we really don't need to. But it's been a thrill to be part of a higher level and to play in the World Cups and carry on. So I think that was the one ingredient that I always had is, everyone has a passion and they say, "Oh, I love soccer," or maybe I want to be a pro player, I want to play in college, I want to play national team, and we have this dream. So you have this passion and you have this dream. So I would say you have to feed your passion in order to fuel that desire. So you have the passion and then this desire and of course the dream. And if you don't fuel your passion and you don't give it the feed and the sources it needs, um, you can't fuel your desire, and it takes a lot of hard work, teamwork, effort. It takes studying the game. It takes a lot of energy out of you. And, it's a basic scenario for people that are listening is like, if you're really hungry, what do? We have to eat. If you're super tired, we have to sleep. And when you look at desire, it's the same thing. Your passion is kind of a living source. And if you have this passion for something, you have to feed it, and being a Christian, you have to feed your spirituality, You can't just say, "Oh, I'm a Christian," and do nothing about it. You have to work at it. And it's the same thing. It's the desire to be a Christian, the desire to have a relationship with God and to have the Holy Spirit in your life. And sports is the same way. You have to have this desire. You have the desire, you have to feed it. And so I found ways to do that. I found ways to do that because I loved it so much. And a lot of times I found myself practicing by myself. And sometimes I found myself getting somebody that wasn't necessarily a soccer player to practice with me, and then I take it into the next level. So now I get to the college level and I'm playing at UCLA, and you find ways to make your team a better team, make the player around you a better player. And it never stops in terms of how do you fuel that desire? Because on a team, you have the desire to win the national championship. So the desire becomes greater than just yourself. But backing up a little bit, I have a very unique story of how I became seen or recognized, identified, and how I made my road to the national team. And it, quite frankly, starts a little bit earlier because I was very fortunate. I played AYSO soccer for 3 years. And I kid you not, the first year I played, I used to ask my dad to stay an extra 10, 15 minutes after my game because not all the time, only when these two teams played. There was the Mustangs, the Blue Devils, and the Bombers. Okay. These were the three teams that were on undefeated, right? And every week you'd have what we had called the Highlander. And in our Diamond Bar Highlander newspaper, it would show who scored goals. And because I was a goal scoring machine, this other guy named Mike Brocky would score goals. He played for the Blue Devils. And Jeff Radicek, he played for the Bombers. And I wanted to find out who these guys were. So I asked my dad to stay. I'm 7 years old, studying the game, studying players. And this is organic. This is not someone coach says, hey, you need to go watch, Champions League, Inter Milan, play PSG this weekend, and look for these bullet points, the substitution patterns, or the tactical. No, this was just a kid wanting to know who the other star player was for the competing team. And then I'd prepare. I'd say, oh my gosh, Mike Brocky, he's so fast and he scores goals. He plays up top. I play in the midfield forward / go everywhere at that age. So how am I going to stop him? So now I'm thinking like, okay, if I don't play, if I can't get back and mark him when he gets the ball, I need help. I need someone that plays in the defense. I need to prepare my goalkeeper in case he gets a shot because I don't want to lose that game. And then Jeff Radicek played for the Bombers, so finesse, so style. I could go man to man with him, and I had to learn what not allowed him to do. So you have this organic way of a kid just really enjoying the sport, looking for every way to get the advantage or to study the game. And then Jeff Radicek's dad, ultimately, after 3 years of playing AYSO, forms this all-star team out of that AYSO area. And he literally walked up to me after the game, introduced himself, and I knew who he was. I knew he was the coach, and his son's, to me, was the best player in the league. I mean, I was like, wow, I want to do what he does, but even better. Like he could hit the ball both feet, great passing, great shooting. And I go, I want to be like him, but even better in that category. And then Mike Brocky, he was super fast, and I go, I want to be fast as him someday. So you take these elements of these players, but when Coach George Radicek approached me, I said, well, can you ask my dad? Because, yeah, I want to do that. It's going to be a traveling team. And that meant we'd be leaving Diamond Bar and going to different cities and playing against all-star teams from different areas. So I joined what we called the Diamond Bar Kickers. It was a one-off team, not a big club, just one team. And Coach George, who immigrated from Eastern Germany into Canada to the United States, had this German background. And it answered why his son was so good and, had the best cleats, the Adidas cleats. And I was like, wow, so I was really privileged to get a great coach at a young age. And within 3 years, we took a trip to Germany and we actually went first to Norway. It was called the Oslo Coca-Cola Cup. And in our age bracket, just in our age bracket, we had 172 teams. It was a week-long tournament, like 6 days. So you have group play, and if you get out of group play, you continue. And we slept in a elementary school classroom. They emptied the classroom, and everyone brought their blow-up mattresses in your sleeping bag, and it was a great tournament. We ended up becoming a silver medalist in it. We lose to Sao Paulo, Brazil in the final. And then we went down to Berlin. And when we were in Berlin, his sister, who escaped the war at the time, she went to West Berlin and she ran an orphanage. And now we stayed at the orphanage because she ran the orphanage. So we had this inexpensive way of going through Europe, of finding housing was the key and staying in different places. So one was the tournament in the elementary school. Now we stayed 5 days at the orphanage and kind of made our way. But while we were at the orphanage, we played against this club called Hertha Zehlendorf. And the famous player named Pierre Lebarski came out of that club. And, you know, they were a feeder club to the bigger clubs, but in Berlin, they were like the club of development. And we played this club 3 times in 5 days. And first game, we beat them. Second game, we beat them. And then they come out saying, okay, you guys, we're going to bring out our best players and we're going to show you how good we are. And you can't beat Americans can't beat the Germans. And we tied that game. And after we tied that match, traditionally you set this long table and everyone, you know, it's a German kid, you know, German American, and it's staggered and, you know, you integrate and you kind of have the hospitality. It was wonderful. The president of the club came up and asked if I would return. Now, I didn't know what he was asking because it was in German, but by the time I got home, I had a telegram and it said, we'd like you to come back and play for Hertha in an exchange program. And I went, wow. So at 15 years old, the deal was if I got good grades in high school, my first semester, I could go to Berlin and play and live and breathe soccer for 6.5 months. Ultimately, I got that opportunity. I got good grades, and I went to play for Hertha Berlin at 15 years old, and I was away from home. Now, a lot of people don't know, because you mentioned, yep, you're older than me, Paul, and I'm older than Paul. This is a time where we don't have internet, cell phones. I mean, I have 3 channels in Germany. They're all in German. You're writing letters. You're homesick. So I can't FaceTime home on an instant. I can't, you know, go on some app and, you know, Instagram and all that stuff. And, you know, it's just, you're homesick. I'm immersed in the German culture, going to John F. Kennedy Schule, my second semester of my freshman year in high school, you know, played out through the summer and then came back. And by the time I came back after being there for 6.5 months, I mean, there was like music that I never heard before. It's like, you know, people were into different things, and I'm going into my sophomore year. But the one thing I did, and this is so many years ago, that I practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday we had off, game on the weekend, right? So you had 5 situations, sometimes 6, depending on if you had 2 games a week. But when I got home, I only practiced twice a week at that time, right? And I go, well, how in the heck am I ever going to play 4 times a week like I was used to? Like I'm not getting enough soccer now that I'm back home. And believe me, I was so happy to be back in the United States. I kissed the ground when I got home, happy to see the family and the friends and certain food that I missed. But I missed soccer even more. I missed soccer because I wasn't getting enough of it. And now I'm, you know, 15 and a half years old. You know, I'm close to getting my driver's license. And I said, what is going to be my next step? Like, how am I going to practice 4 times? I'm not thinking about how to be seen, going to some soccer college showcase. I'm not thinking about anything about other than development, because I want to get better. And the only way you get better is by effort and working out. Now, I could run on my own. I could go kick a ball on my own, but now I need those extra practices. How do I get those extra practices? So I found out through a friend that there was this under 23 pro league or semi-pro league. It wasn't under 23, but I just kind of say that to give people a scope. So I asked my brother's friend if I could get a job at a pizza place. And he said, yeah, I'll ask my boss. He got promoted from a dishwasher to a pizza tosser. And he goes, I'll ask him. I go, yeah, just a couple conditions. Or what? I go, I got to work the days you work. So you could, hopefully you'd be kind enough to take me home or pick me up. He goes, well, no problem. I'll ask. He came back, said, yep, there's a dishwasher job. I'm 15 and a half. It's like December time, right? And my birthday is in March. So I'm trying to figure out a job to save money. So when I turn 16 years old, I have gas money because I found a soccer club that was a semi-pro club that was an hour and 15 minutes from my house. And the goal was to save gas money, go to my dad saying, hey, I just want to borrow the car because my brother and I would share a car because he's 15 months older than me. I have to share. And I made a deal with my dad. So I just need the car Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night. And I don't need it anything else. So if you're looking to figure out how to share the car with John and I just need it during those two days, that 2 time periods. And he goes, oh, you made my life easy. That's no problem. Yeah, you don't need it to drive to school. Do you need it to after school? Do you need it for weekends? I go, no, just those 2 days. And he goes, well, what are you going to do? And I go, well, there's a soccer club up in Rancho Palos Verdes, and I want to go up there and just watch them train. So I saved my gas, saved my money that I worked as a dishwasher. And I was a proudful dishwasher because I needed that money. So I saved that money just for gas money to go watch the team practice. Ultimately, after a period of time, the coach made the team run around the field. And this is an isolated field. This is not a big soccer complex. This is just one grass field in the middle of a neighborhood. And the soccer coach comes up to me and goes, oh, hi, son. He's an English guy. He goes, I seen you here a lot. Do you live in the neighborhood? And I go, no, sir. And he goes, well, what brings you here? And I go, oh, coach, I just want to get better. And he goes, well, where do you live? And I said, Diamond Bar. And he jumped back and says, what? That's like an hour and 15, 20 minutes from here. He goes, you come all the way here? I go, yes, sir. And he looked at me and kind of tilted his head a little bit. He goes, you want to practice? Yes, sir. That was my in. So after being there several weeks on Monday, Wednesday, I got my break. So when I say, and I don't say this lightly, I was the best dishwasher. I needed the money, and I did the best I possibly could. Now, when I got the break to become a practice player or just practice with these older players, I was the best practice player. I'd literally tell these guys, we play rondo or 5v2. I'd say, I want to be the only guy in the middle. Just keep the circle tight. And guess what? If the ball goes out of the circle, I'll go get it, come back, and I want to stay in the middle. Because I had a short period of time being with these guys, and I wanted to challenge myself. So they ultimately started to love me. If I shot a ball when we did shooting and went over the post, and then the next guy shot, I'd chase my ball and his ball because I became the best practice player. I was so happy and grateful to be there. I just continued to work harder and harder and harder. So that kind of attitude carried on through my career and then through my life. And then fast forward now, I'm 18 years old. I'm turning 18 years old, my senior year in high school. In my senior year in high school, back in December, another thing happens in December, 2 of my teammates tell me that they're being selected for the Southern California Olympic development team. And I said, well, what's that? And they tell me, both these players are great. Mind you, one of them is Jeff Radicek, George Radicek's son.
Yeah.
The guy that set up the German trip, the coach that picked me, and the player that I admire. I mean, he deserves this. I mean, Jeff made it all the way. He's going to be selected for the state team, the Southern California state team. And Rocky Crisp, this guy was fast. He was great, and he deserved it. But we were all great friends and close friends. And I asked Rocky one day, I go, when is that tryout? He goes, it's not a tryout. They picked 36 players, and they're going to take 18 from the 36. That's how they're going to do it. And I go, well, when is it? Where is it? He said, Cal State Fullerton. It starts at 9 o'clock on such and such date. I wrote it down, put it on my mirror in my room, and looked at it every day. A week before the event, I asked Rocky, I go, hey, well, how'd that event go? Probably shouldn't have done that because I knew it, according to my records, it hadn't come up yet. And he says, oh, no, it's next Saturday. I go, okay. So next Saturday comes, check-in's 8 o'clock. I'm there at 7:30. I'm the first kid there. Uninvited player, not supposed to be there. Here I am, showing up at Cal State Fullerton, literally watching, the volunteer women set up the easy ups. I race out of my car, ask them if I could help them set up the easy ups, and then it comes to the big question. I'm here to sign in. I want to be the first one. And why do I want to be the first one? I want to be the first one to avoid any embarrassment, humiliation, but also to kind of hide from Rocky and Jeff. If they see me there, they're going to say, what are you doing here? And it kind of blow my opportunity. So I literally walk in, and they go through the list and say, oh, Paul Caligiuri, you're not on this list. And I give them my ID, which I just turned 18, like a couple weeks before that. As I just turned 18, if there's a waiver form, I could fill out the waiver form or sign it. And if you don't mind, I'd like to go up and ask the coaches on the soccer field. And they said, oh, no problem, honey. Here, sign. Done. Go back to my car, scope out Rocky Jeff, watch them sign in, watch them go up to the field. Then there's my opportunity. So I go up to the field, and I'm in this pack of 36 players. 36 players, there's 6 goalkeepers, and then there's 30 field players. So there's going to be 3 teams of 12. So 11, they're going to play 11v11, 11v11 plus an extra goalkeeper, okay? And out of that 36 players, they're picking 18 for the state team. And there's 3 coaches standing there, one with blue bibs, one with yellow, one with red, and they start naming off players. Okay, Jeff, you grab a yellow, Rocky, grab a blue, and on and on and on. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be the last player standing. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? And I'm literally like praying on it in my head, like over and over and over, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I was always taught by my parents, like, whatever you do, say the truth. No matter how hard it is, tell the truth. And I'm like, okay. I'm getting ready to say the truth. All of a sudden, a coach in the middle, he gets stuck with his roster. And he goes, I need a defender, like under his breath a little bit. And he's kind of flipping through the papers. And I jump out of the crowd and say, Coach, I could play defender. I'm 18 years old. 18, have not played 1 minute, not 1 second ever at defender. I was a goal-scoring forward machine, sometimes playing the outside player. Every once in a while, I get them placed in the center mid, but primarily I'm a forward, a striker. And I'm going, he goes, oh, great. Grab a red. I get halfway to the red. He asks the golden question, what's your name? And I stood there and go, okay, my name is Paul Caligiuri. He flips through and says, how do you spell it? With a K, a C? And I spell it out. He goes, I don't see your name on the roster. Remember, I have to tell the truth now, right? So I said, Coach, my name is Paul Caligiuri. I wasn't on the roster when I checked in. I signed the waiver form. I'm 18 and I'm good to go. And I felt like my face was melting. I was embarrassed. He looked to his right, looked to the coach. Coach shrugged his shoulders like, it's up to you. Looked to the other coach. The other coach kind of turned away. Coach said, grab the red. 90 days later from that moment, I'm wearing the captain's band for the under-19 U.S. national team as a defender. Now, today it's the under-20 team. At the time, it was the under-19 team. So 90 days later, 3 months later, I made it to the top of our national team in the under-19s. From that point forward, Phil and Paul, I just basically went from the under-19s to the Olympic team to the national team. 15 years career in the national team program and never looked back. But you could hear these values that I had, you know, along the way. I'm sure you could take bits and pieces of effort, hard work, teamwork, dedication, passion, honesty, integrity, etc., that carried me through. And I'm so blessed and fortunate to have a wonderful career and have traveled and done the things I did and meet a lot of people, and fortunate to be here talking to you guys about my story. And I hope that it helps people.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why we're here, right? Is to help people, right? And I love your story, Paul. I don't know if I've ever heard it all the way through like that. I think that's gonna be amazing for so many people to hear that. And you touched on so many different things and so many different levels of just kind of your thought process, your mentality. But let's get to like the why, Paul. Like what is your why? And I'm sure maybe it's changed a little bit from being a kid to where you are as an adult now. But what's the why? What's the driving factor? What keeps you doing what you do? What's that driving factor? And then I want you to kind of play that into maybe that defining moment of your career as well.
You mean, why am I engaged in soccer today? Still involved?
No, what's your why? Why do you do what you do? Right? That drive and that desire you have. What's the thing that's fueling you from inside that says, hey, you know, when I go to check myself, this is why I'm doing it. Like like for me, I want to be a good husband. I want to be a great dad. I do it because my faith is so important to me, and I want to love people like Christ loved the church. And I fail all the time, right? But those are kind of like why I do what I do. Do you have a driving thing
Well, I mean, if we're trying to imitate Jesus Christ, I mean, that's a hard task, impossible to do.
Yes.
That's what drives me. If that's the why factor, I want to be a good person, good human being. I want to make a difference on this earth. And, I put my faith in God, and, I want to imitate the life of Jesus Christ the best I possibly can. We all make mistakes, and we have to repent on that and move forward. But certainly, I have a platform with soccer, and I was fortunate at a young age to have this passion. I had a great family support, and, I had God in my life at a very young age. And, at one stage, I told my aunt that I was going to be a priest or a pastor or minister. And then I became good in soccer, and that kind of shifted, like, wait a minute, I'm going to buy you a house someday because I'm going to be a pro soccer player.
Love it.
But it's just, anything we do in life has to be for the greater, and the greater is God.
Love that. Love that. And then take us through, I mean, you've had so many amazing, I mean, you've just gone through a ton of amazing experiences, just through your entire story of that anybody would grab one of those and go, that would be my defining moment if that happened to me. And yours kind of just keep building on itself. But if you could pick one moment in your career that just kind of defined you as a person or player, what would that moment be for you, Paul?
Oh, I'd like to share like the most intimate moment that I had.
Love it.
And most people will relate to the shot heard around the world. This guy scores the goal that gets us to the World Cup the first time in 40 years. That's not all my doings. That's a team effort, right? But the game ends 1-0. You become this nostalgic hero American. And we qualify for the World Cup. If a game ends 2-1, we tie, ends 3-2. There's not like one person. There is no American hero, right? I mean, there's no one person picked out, scoring the goal, hitting the grand slam, making that home, whatever, shooting that last little basket, right? And this is team sports. We all realize that. My teammates realize that. I realize that. But something incredibly special happened is after the game, you leave the locker room, you shower, clean up, you go back to the hotel. And when we go back to the hotel, we're in Trinidad and Tobago, Port of Spain, and the players just go crazy, right? You just drop off your bags and everyone's jumping in the pool, celebrating. It's not like we have a bunch of Americans there, if any, but the guys knew how to celebrate. And I was asked by the media to do interviews, and I asked them, I said, I'll do all the interviews, but I like to go to my room first and just drop off my bag, right? Along the way. It was one of those outdoor hallways where you could see the ocean and you could see the stadium in the distance. And it was a long corridor. And then you open another door to get to the rooms, like to the hallway to the rooms. And while I was halfway on that corridor and I could see the lights of the stadium, I just stopped and I prayed. And I specifically said, I could do in so many words. I don't want to say the entire prayer, but I was so grateful and thankful for a lot. And I just said, God, I could do this. Meaning I could be a good person. Put in this position, I will commit to you and be a good person throughout. Because I knew the challenges that you could be faced with some sort of fame and attention. And I just wanted to be a good person. So that was very special to me because I had different successes. I won a national championship with UCLA. I was able to go to Germany and play in the Bundesliga, the first American-born raised soccer player to make it to the big leagues. I had played in the Olympics, and we've had successes as a team, and I had accomplishments getting there and big moments while in those college level, pro level, Olympic level. But this was different because now I knew that somebody would be isolated into this moment of how many people tried this before me? How many national teams do we have before that? How many people work behind the scenes? How many players give everything they got while they're on the field? The team sport, the effort, and now we solidified the World Cup to come here in '94 based on that victory. Of course, there's going to be a lot of attention on the U.S. team leading up to the '90 World Cup. Yes, there's going to be more attention once we get to the World Cup in Italy and first time, and the world's curious of America and the United States and us developing. So if there's one point or one person they're going to pick and look to kind of give them insight or be a leader or some sort of heroic feeling or moment, I just said, God, I could do this in your honor. It's like, it's not going to change me. And I think that was very special to me. And I immediately ran and called my dad had to call collect from Trinidad, called collect call from the room. He picked up, and this is how far the game come. Because I remember Phil says the game was way different when we were going up. Collect call. The game was being delayed broadcast.
Yeah,
so I think they were still like in, the start of the game. It wasn't even, they didn't even see me score the goal yet. And I'm just crying out to my dad, like, "Oh, Dad, the dream, I can't believe it." And he's all, son, I'm here with the family, and I can't really say I can't act, but I'm so proud. Can you say I'm so proud of you? Goes, but yes, that's great. Good luck. He's faking it because he didn't want to blow the news for people. So that's how far the game has come, Phil. Is that
that's amazing?
They're watching on delayed broadcast, and now today we watch literally every game, meaningful big game internationally, big leagues internationally, our leagues. The game is. We have women's soccer. Everything's great. It's grown, but it all goes back to this moment in history, and I knew that at the time that it would be a very pivotal point. And I did not want to waver from my faith at all because of that.
I love that.
I love that. There's so much more. We're gonna wrap it up with the last two questions that we ask everybody, but we definitely want to get back on, talk about so much more stuff. I'd love to talk more about kind of the current state of the game. I'd love to go deeper into kind of behind the scenes. I love that defining moment because folks, you can go out and I'll put the link to it. Great documentary on Paramount Plus called The $1 Billion Goal, all about what we just talked about there. It doesn't go into the collect call. That's bonus, folks. That's only
That's
here.
cool.
Exclusive coverage, probably not exclusive, but
No.
that was really cool. But super cool, but great documentary on that. There's also, I don't think it was part of that. I think it was a different documentary, but it shows kind of the background. I'd love to get you back on to talk about Germany, and especially when you were 15, behind the Iron Curtain, like crazy stuff. And to be able to talk through a lot of that, because I know you learned a lot of stuff through those things. So we'll get you back on to talk about all those things, hopefully in the future. But we have a couple questions we ask all of our guests, and so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. The first one is, how have you used the lessons you've learned directly from the game of soccer in your parenting and other important relationships in your life?
Well, there's so many lessons in life, but I think the one thing is, as sometimes in life you have to give up something to get something. These are key things. Make everyone around you a better person. So in soccer, it's like when you're rising to the top, and I think for most people, it's like, what if you're Messi? What if you're Ronaldo? What if you're Michael Jordan? Not everyone around you is as good as you. It's obvious, right? And along my way, I had to learn how to make people around me better, right? And I think that is the biggest thing in life, is that we have the ability as Christians to make people better, and to really be strong. But you have dedication, hard work, effort. I mean, there's so many variables that go into what soccer could do and team sports do and help people mold their lives. But certainly, working with others is difficult. It's not always easy, no matter what job you're in, no matter what profession you're in. And we all come from different walks of life, backgrounds, personalities, characteristics, strengths, weaknesses, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, we're all people and we're all children of God. And, that's what we're here for, is to make others better and show them and give them the best we have. And ultimately, it's to do your best to become the best in life.
Love it. Love it. And then, Paul, kind of the last question we ask really everybody, just kind of a fun one. What have you watched, read, or listened to that's most impacted your thinking on how soccer explains life and leadership?
Oh gosh, there's so much fun stuff now on the internet. Every day I get something.
That's why we like to end it.
There's so much fun and funny stuff out there. But I like literally watching documentaries on players, where they grew up, how they molded and became who they are. There's not necessarily one specific that comes to mind. Also, I think it's very important to listen to coaches, because we look at the big time coaches these days that coach some of the best teams in the world, the Real Madrids of the world, the Bayern Munichs, the Barcelonas, the PSGs, the Inter Milan, and these coaches have to manage players. They're not teaching them skills or sometimes positioning and tactical things, but it's managing personalities. It's manage the players. And when I say manage it, they want one thing. They want to make that player the best they possibly can be. And so it takes a lot of effort in terms of psychological and mental strength and mental empowerment, confidence. So I love watching a lot of these documentaries. That's probably the best thing I'd like to watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We love watching those documentaries in my home too. My 14-year-old, in fact, he's like, "Dad, there's a Vinny documentary now." I was like, he goes, "Can we watch it?" I'm like, "Yeah, let me screen the first 30 minutes of it first, but we'll you never know."
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we watched the Pulisic one. That was fantastic. There's some really good stuff out
there's
there.
A lot of common threads with players. It's
yeah.
The extra work, the hard work, the extra effort. Modric was a good one. How he kicked the ball against the wall back and forth back during wartime. I mean, it's just the extra effort, the passion. I said it earlier, feed your passion, which is going to fuel your desire. And it seems so easy of a statement, but it's so complex. And the easiest way to do that, if I can encourage anybody, is if you have an interest in something and you want to thrive in it, you want to get better and better and better, be creative. Be creative to find that fuel, in whatever you do. If you're an artist, maybe you want to draw and doodle. If you're a soccer player, go kick the ball, teach yourself new games and fun, whatever it may be. I'm not a gamer, so I can't give really tips on that. So,
yeah,
you guys were great. I love this interview.
Too. Well, I'm glad. We'll like I said, we'll get you back. We'll get part 2 of
I'm interested in talking more about you guys and your background and things you guys do, because you guys are doing wonderful work out there, and I'm really grateful to be on your show.
Appreciate that, Paul. Awesome. It's always great to have folks like you to share your story and give us some insights into what life was like growing up, and we see pictures, we see celebrations, but to get to the heart of who people are, I think is extremely important. And I think it teaches us more. That teaches us way more than the goals and all of that. It's just
way
the heart
more
of who people are. So
absolutely,
truly value you and who you are, and have really appreciated you being on here. Like Phil said, man, we'll as we wrap this up here today, appreciate you being on, and we'll definitely do this again and dive deeper into things.
That sounds great, Paul. I appreciate your comments.
Yeah,
absolutely. The only issue is you gave me a little PTSD when you talked about Diamond Bar, because the Diamond Bar Hawks were our rival growing up when I was on the Mission Viejo Starfighters. And
Starfighters.
Oh yeah, we were the Starfighter from the last Starfighter back in 80 whatever it was. We had all kinds of great names back then too. That's what we miss today too. But then Diamond Bar High School beat us in the quarterfinals of CIF back in the day. So, it was just like evoked visceral just emotion. So, but I got over it and I was able to finish the interview. So we're good. No problem.
Mission Viejo produced a lot of great soccer players.
Yeah.
But Diamond Bar, we have Alex Morgan too. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Maybe we should have like we could have a reunion game against each other, right?
We should.
You bring your alums, I bring my alums, and let's roll.
I like it. We got Foudy and Joe Max more.
yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, maybe, we can, I don't know.
We also have like Matt Reese. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got some players.
Okay. All right. Well, I think maybe we just thought maybe that's a good idea.
Paul could be the ref. How's that?
I like it.
Oh, I can do some reffing. Let me tell you.
I like it. And then
I'll get you a nice brand new whistle and fire away.
I'm in. That's all I need.
Don't hesitate on calling those fouls on Dark over there.
You obviously have heard something about the way I play. So, all right, folks. Well, we could keep going, and we will. We'll have a part 2 of this. But this is a lot of fun. Thanks, folks out there, for being a part of this conversation. Thank you for how you're using this. That's why we do what we do. We'd love to help you to be better in all that you're doing. And so we just hope that you check out the show notes, because we'll have all of this, the different things we talked about, that get talked about, the documentaries that talk about Paul's life a little bit deeper, and some of those moments that we discussed on the show. But also, if you want to learn more about Warrior Way and what Paul and Marcy are doing down there in Waco and Guatemala, Costa Rica, and hopefully more places, you can do that in the show notes. If you want to learn about what I'm doing with DISC and coaching the bigger game and all that, you can do that as well. But as always, folks, we hope that you're taking what you're learning from this show and you use it to be a better coach, to be a better parent, to be a better spouse, to be a better leader, to be better in everything that you do. And you continually remind yourself that soccer does explain life and leadership. Thanks a lot. Have a great couple weeks.